This study examines the effects of oral reading tasks on technical college students' listening and reading performances in English. The purpose of the study is to explore how oral reading motivates students' English learning. The 41 college freshmen from the college English course, spanning from the fall semester of 2011 to the spring semester of 2012, were investigated. As the process of globalization impacts the job market around the world, teachers are held responsible for students' learning outcomes in terms of professional competence certificates. Particularly, language proficiency seems a practical criterion to screen out job applicants. As scholars reviewed the performances of English proficiency of college students in Taiwan to highlight the declining national scores on the basic level of general English proficiency test and TOEFL IBT, more colleges adopt graduation English language proficiency benchmarks to upgrade their students' English proficiency. In order to justify the teaching efforts related to the benchmark policy, the purpose of the study intends to test the 4 hypotheses about the intervention of oral reading and comprehension questioning related to the CEF-A2 and CSB1 listening comprehension and reading comprehension performances. Literature review. Recent work on the nature of human function points out a social cognitive approach to language teaching, where the larger context in which learning occurs influences the student's conception of ability and classroom content. Brown cited the work of Miller and Gilda on useless vocabulary teaching, where children learn words from abstract definitions and sentences out of contextualized use. If students are expected to demonstrate the performances of readers or writers, they should be acculturated into the authentic activities of practitioners, rather than artificial practices of using dictionary definitions and exemplary sentences. Vygotsky claimed through an example of a child's development by pointing out where meaning and functions are created first by an objective situation and then by people surrounding the child. Garner also pointed out that contextual factors have setting effects on learners' goals and strategies. Wirch explicates Bakhtin's view of social language to note the interrelation of utterances and social-cultural context, that comprehension is grounded in the idea of understanding and responding. However, Pardoe and Shonak reviewed literacy research and found few arguments concerning emotionality. On the other hand, Zweck and Leggett concluded the impact of goal orientation on cognitive and affective factors, including attribution patterns, defensive strategies, self versus task focus, ego versus task involvement, evaluation anxiety, and intrinsic motivation. More recently, the expanded view of multiple goals by Duperat and Marine and Lobkin builds on the dichotomous distinction of mastery and performance orientations, which highlights the possible influences of environmental factors on ability, beliefs, and goal orientation, as well as the impact of pursuing both mastery and performance goals for achieving better satisfaction with academic experience, increased academic engagement, and improved grades. In summary, the sociocultural approach to learning emphasizes the affect mechanisms through social interactions to elicit intrinsic motivation for learning and develop goals and strategies to acquire knowledge and skills. According to Bandura, the network of sociocultural influences prompts human adaptation and change in the form of cognitive, affective, and biological events. Hence, Efficacy is not a fixed ability, but rather a generative capability to effectively organize cognitive, social, emotional, and behavior subskills. In order to perform effective functioning, individuals need to have a good orchestration of skills and efficacy beliefs. Accordingly, the pace of contextual changes would prompt individuals to self-regulate their knowledge acquisition and cognitive skills. Examining Zimmerman's studies on academic self-regulation, Bandura acknowledged the concept of self-influence, in that students must learn to select appropriate environments in terms of time and place to work on academic activities, as well as study strategies of condensing, paraphrasing, and synthesizing information. Self-regulation is an exercise of self-directedness to monitor learning activities, set goals and performance standards, and retain self-incentives to complete assignments. EFL studies have also incorporated the concept of self-efficacy into instructional structures. Liu and Jackson found active engagement in oral EFL lessons. Students tend to develop the most active interaction during pair work and the least active when responding to teachers' questions. Su and Joel reported a significant positive correlation between language learning strategy use and self-efficacy beliefs among Taiwanese high school students through the measurements of SIL and MJSAS. The high school students participants were found to have weak but positive perceived self-efficacy in learning English, with a medium level of language learning strategies. It is suggested to integrate explicitly taught language learning strategy use into the curriculum. Xie and Kang's study confirmed Korean high school English learners with higher self-efficacy attributed their test results to more internal and personal control factors. Hence, the concept of self-efficacy is not an isolated entity but an interlocking perception developed from a variety of situated cognitions. Accurately perceived self-efficacy can be activated through self-regulation strategies, dependent on modeling and explicit teaching. In the following, let's review the connection between reading and oral reading. Reading comprehension and oral reading. The results of Zhong's study on oral reading fluency in Korean high school students' L2 reading illustrated the oral passage reading fluency, corroborated the connection with text comprehension-based processes for the able L2 readers, but not for the less experienced. By citing Samuel's noting that speed, accuracy, and prosody are indicators of fluent reading, Valencia et al. Argued for multiple contributions of text difficulty, comprehension connection, and reading level to oral reading fluency, rather than using the single metric of words correct per minute. Benjamin and Schwankelflugel conducted an in-depth examination of text difficulty impact on the oral reading prosody of young children and concluded the use of prosody as a possible scaffold to comprehend difficult text. John built on current L2 research of oral reading fluency aspects of rate, accuracy, prosody, and word reading fluency to further identify the oral reading predictors of decoding vocabulary knowledge, grammar knowledge, and metacognition, as well as predictive power of oral reading fluency on L2 reading comprehension. John's study supported a more text comprehension-based process in passage reading fluency than word reading fluency with high school students. Willie and Deno combined the use of oral reading and maze to predict the reading comprehension performance of English learners in grades 3 and 5. The findings support the correlation between oral reading fluency and reading comprehension, to both EL and non-EL students. Collette and Beer's study on the relations among serial decoding, irregular word recognition, listening comprehension, oral vocabulary, and reading comprehension in Canadian children in grades 1 and 5 supports the importance of oral language in reading comprehension. The study showed the increased effect of oral vocabulary and a diminished effect of decoding in reading comprehension when children become more proficient readers. Citing Perfetti and Hart's lexical quality hypothesis and the connectionist models, Collette and Beers acknowledged the benefit of storing and interconnecting information of phonology, orthography, and semantic knowledge provided by an oral vocabulary to enable lexical items to be more easily retrieved. Leonetti et al. Compared 4 elementary school students' improvements in words correct per minute scores and accuracy scores to conclude the effect of recorded passages being read at slow or fast rates in order that gains in words correct per minute and reading accuracy were maintained with non-previewed material during follow-up examination. Another example of the read-aloud effect was examined by Malloy et al. On middle school students with and without a learning disability in reading. The study reported the impact of reading test question scripts on reading comprehension scores to conclude a comprehension connection with oral reading. Next, let's look at the connection between reading comprehension and questioning. McNeil's study investigated the contributions of background knowledge and reading comprehension strategies of EFL students' reading comprehension scores at a university to conclude that self-questioning is a strong predictor. Gompachi and Dashti explored the relationship between cognitive styles of impulsivity and performances of intermediate EFL university students on answering display, referential, and inferential reading comprehension questions. The study then recommended an integrated development of the 3 types of questions by students for learning experience. The value of questions was also endorsed by Mihara in examining the effect of vocabulary pre-teaching in comprehension question presentation for university students in Japan. The analysis concluded that pre-questioning is a better pre-reading strategy and vocabulary instruction may be effective as a post-reading strategy. In light of vocabulary learning, the extended practice of EFL reading comprehension into writing skills development enhanced university students in Jordan to constructively speak reading passages and write compositions using linking words and checking the spelling, and consequently learning the required vocabulary. Zoki et al. Experimented with the cooperative format of EFL reading strategy instruction with Iranian university students in the 3 stages of modeling text organizing techniques, involving students in summarizing and generating questions based on the reading paragraphs, and finally, the circulation of question and answer production. Given no significant gains in reading comprehension skills, but positive gains of attitudes, the study speculated the confounding impact of individual differences and personal learning styles, as well as the lack of instructional intensity. The reviewed studies led to considerations of exploring how EFL reading comprehension can be mediated by text reading and reading strategy on questioning, particularly whether proficient EFL learners can benefit from reading fluency and comprehension questions to enhance reading comprehension.